everyone, so glad you decided to click the link. Dr. Bob and I figured that it would be smart to send you a welcome video since you're new to Active Life Chiropractic. In this video, we're gonna go over your most frequently asked questions, what you can do to see the best results under our care, and maybe you'll learn a little bit about us along the way as well. All right, so here's the first question about our office. What can someone expect after starting care with us? And what would you say to someone who is on their second visit, 8th visit, or maybe even 3 months into the process?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. I rarely am asked this question up front, but I am asked this along the lines if you're going through a treatment plan.
Yeah.
So what this looks like, whether you're on your second adjustment, your 6th, or your 8th, or you're 2 months into this process, the biggest thing that I would say is, I would compare chiropractic to the stock market. So if you watch that stock market line over the years, it always trends upwards. Now, if you invested money into, let's say, diversified mutual funds, and you track it from day to day, you're gonna see some days where it goes up and some days where it goes down. If you didn't track it day to day, you might have a week where it looks really, really bad and you feel like you're losing money. But chances are, as history has shown, if you just wait it out, eventually it goes back up because that line always tracks upwards. And chiropractic care is very similar to that. So if you're tracking your progress from day to day after each adjustment, you're gonna notice the same thing. You might feel really good after one adjustment, and the next adjustment you don't notice as big of a change. You might be 3 adjustments in, you feel really good, and then bam, it comes back again as if you had never been into our office before previously. But that's all part of it. And as the treatment process goes on and your plan increases and the longer you stay, this always tracks upwards, and the end point is what I'm really looking for. And so, for example, if I had, let's say, 10 patients that had, the same condition, same age, same lifestyle, they all came in, let's say I take an x-ray, x-rays all look the same. If I were to provide recommendations, they'd all be the same because it's essentially the same person, but what they would experience would be different. So one person might do one treatment and they feel 100% better. Someone else might be on their 15th treatment before they start to see results, and everyone else is in between all of that. But that's all relative to the person. Like I said, the end point is what we're really looking for in terms of changes. So what you feel from day to day is not that important as it is to get to this end point where we show that we made progress. But I will say that's one of the biggest reasons that you might notice this when you come to our office is that I don't ask you how you're feeling all the time. It's not that it doesn't matter, it does, but it doesn't affect my treatments at all because I know everyone is going to respond differently. I do need to know if you had a severe trauma after you left our office. So if you fell off a ladder or got hit by a car or hit in the head by a baseball or something, I need to know that. But the overall day-to-day pains and as things change do not affect your treatment plan. What I will say is that as we're going through this process with you, periodically we do re-exams, and that lets me see where you are, and then at that point I can show where your progress is.
All right, Dr. Bob, so what is an interesting fact about you that no one knows?
Well, there was that one time that I broke that printer.
I remember that.
Yeah. Another thing that was interesting was whenever I was younger, not so much as nowadays, but when I was younger, a lot of people thought that I looked like Joey from Friends, and I would be out in public and I would see people staring at me like I'm not him. But the reruns are playing now, so I still get that, just not as often as I used to.
All right, Dr. Bob, so is there anything that people can do to improve their results?
Totally. So, when I look at, what creates health within someone, I believe that there's 5 things that you have to have. So you have to have, proper spinal alignment, which is what we're working on with you here. But you also have to eat clean, you have to exercise, you have to avoid toxicity, and then you also have to have the proper mindset.
Yes.
And if you have all of these things, you're going to be healthier than someone that doesn't. So as you're going through care in our office, like I said, diet is important. Eating clean is great. Movement is good, exercise is good. I get asked this all the time, should I exercise? The worst thing you can do when you're going through care in our office is sit for a long period of time. Unless you're in excruciating pain and you can't move, movement is good. Exercise is always going to be beneficial for your spine, so that's important. Avoiding toxicity is important, and like I said, mindset is important. And I like to talk about mindset for a second because I do feel like it's somewhat of an underrated, not talked about aspect of someone's health. And when I'm talking about mindset, what I'm talking about is, someone's attitude towards their health. So if you looked at someone that, and we all know people like this, or at least I do. I have family, friends, people that are always sick and they're always talking about it, and it's kind of become their identity. It's hard to get out of that because you're programming your mind to tell yourself that you're unhealthy instead of speaking positively about your health. So it's one thing that I ask is that you take an upbeat, positive approach to this, and it's kind of like the placebo effect. So for example, everyone believes in the placebo effect.
Right.
If they tested a medication and there's 500 people that took this medication and then 500 that took the placebo, and nobody really knows which one they're taking, you'll have people in the placebo group that actually will see the effects of the medication work on them even though they weren't taking it. So it was a blood pressure medication. You'll see people that didn't take any medication for it and their blood pressure goes down because their mind believes that they're actually taking it. Everyone believes this, right? So my question is, if we can believe that, can we believe the opposite of that too? So if I'm doing something and I don't think it's going to work and I don't think I'm going to see results, I'm probably not. So I feel like this is overall a very important thing to look at, because we see this if someone comes into our office and they're just always telling us that their back hurts. I'll see it change before they do, and they don't necessarily believe it. And as time goes on, they'll look better, but it's almost like it's like you can't admit that it's getting better because you told your body that you're unhealthy for such a long period of time. So I definitely believe that mindset is an important thing here.
Yeah, crucial.
But tell me something interesting about you that no one knows.
So a couple interesting things about me. I married my high school sweetheart, and we both moved to Charlotte within a year of one another, which is really cool. We're both from out of state. He's from Pennsylvania, I'm from California. So that's awesome. Second thing, I love singing. I love singing. But your chances of ever hearing me sing are slim to none unless you hunt me down on social media or come find me at my church. Does anyone ever go through this entire process and not see results?
Very rarely do we see someone go through the process and not see results, and the biggest reason for this is because of the initial exam and recommendations that we provide. So, rather than to just adjust you and then hope that you see results, the exam that I do lets me know how much I can help. So, if you're watching this and you've been in, recommendations with me, that I'm going to tell you, what percentage of patients would see results in your same situation. So I may tell someone that I feel like I can get them close to 100% better. I might tell someone else that I feel like I can get them 60% better. So I'm very upfront in providing recommendations and expectations. So if it's something that I can't help with, I don't try to.
I've been a part of this office for a year and a half now, and it is very uncommon to see people not gain any level of progress. It's also pretty uncommon coming across people that we find we cannot help. When I first came here and got evaluated, I had a pretty severe case of scoliosis. Along with chronic back pain, I also dealt with tension headaches and even at times very poor sleep quality. I can honestly say that after going through Dr. Bob's recommendations, I no longer deal with any of these symptoms at all. As of now, I just get adjusted once a week for the benefits that chiropractic care brings to my life beyond living pain and symptom free. I've seen major improvements in my overall health, I'd say, including stress levels, food sensitivities, the list goes on. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
All right, so tell me what are a couple goals or dreams of yours?
Mm-hmm. So, well, I would love to be a philanthropist one day. So one of my goals is to help fight social justice issues such as sex trafficking, child labor, and things of that nature. So I actually volunteer with a few organizations here in Charlotte that help with that. And we also provide housing and schooling for children who are refugees from other countries who have faced different types of persecution. So I really love giving back to the community in that way.
Awesome.
Another random dream of mine is to be on a sitcom one day. Completely opposite end of the spectrum. So I would love to be on a sitcom. I don't know why, I adore shows such as The Office and Parks and Rec, so maybe one day you'll catch me on the next big hit. So.
There you go.
So out of the conditions that you see come in and out of our office, what are the ones that have the highest success rate or turnover?
Yeah, I would say, the ones that we see that someone comes in that, before I even walk into the room and meet them and I see their intake form, these are the ones that I feel pretty confident with, before even doing the evaluation. So things like sciatica, headaches, neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, do really, really well in our office with chiropractic care. But some other less known conditions that also have high success rate include, children that have recurring ear infections do really, really well with chiropractic care, allergies, acid reflux. We'll see children that just get sick very often. If there's a bug going around, they're the ones that are always going to get it. They're going to miss school or be pulled out of daycare. High success rate with asthma, just common fatigue. Families that have children that are running around chasing them, they're just tired all the time. Or women that are pregnant and their baby is breech, so their baby's not going head down.
We've seen a lot of those.
Yeah, really, really high success rate there in adjusting them, letting their baby actually turn head down. And also Tourette's is something that someone might not think about, but it does really, really well with chiropractic care also. Okay, so let me show you how this works. So, when you get adjusted and you go to a chiropractor, we're primarily dealing with your nervous system. People think of chiropractors, they think of muscles, joints, bones, but it's your nervous system is what we actually affect. And how this works is your brain controls every single part of your body through your spinal cord and nerves. So your brain is going to send messages down your spinal cord and then through the nerves that connect with every single part of your body. So if there's a misalignment within the spine, it moves out of place, it clamps down and puts pressure on the nerve in that area, and then it distorts that nerve's message, and whatever that nerve is controlling is going to be affected. Looks like is the nerves in your neck come off and control your thyroid gland, they control your lungs, they control your immune system. So if someone comes in for neck pain and we start working on their neck, their nerves are going to connect and control their thyroid a lot better, they're going to control their immune system a lot better, and their lungs a lot better. So we might see ear infections go away from that because the immune system's firing better. We might see asthma go away because the lungs are firing better. And we might see thyroid problems actually reverse because the brain can, for the first time in a long time, talk to the thyroid gland and tell it how to function better. If I worked on someone that had nerve interference from a misalignment, or we call it a subluxation in their mid back in between their shoulders, these nerves come off and control their stomach. So if your brain can't tell your stomach how to work properly, maybe you eat a meal and the food sits in there too long and you notice reflux or indigestion. Or maybe it just gets pushed through really fast and you meet somebody that's like, I can't go out to eat because I'm in the bathroom for the rest of the day. It's because your brain can't tell your stomach how to actually produce the right amount of hydrochloric acid or pepsin or whatever it needs to make that part of the body work better. So the great thing with chiropractic care is it's we call a vitalistic approach, where we're not actually treating any symptoms, we're treating your body's ability to heal itself. And your body's design to function is not flawed, it's perfect. And you just need no interferences within the system, and your body should be healthy. It's common to be sick these days, but it's definitely not normal to be sick either.
Yeah. So what is your dream car?
Dream car, I don't know, it changes from like week to week, month to month. I'm really into older cars, I think, right now. Like, I'd like to get an older truck and make it modern, give it a big engine, need something that's fast, a lot of power. Even though I don't drive fast, but I don't know, something like that. Older cars are kind of what I'm into. Not really good for the kids these days. They're not very safe, so I have to drive a safer car, but I do like these older ones. I know you do, too.
Yeah, I, unlike Dr. Bob, am a speed demon, so I've gotten in trouble for that before. I currently drive a Challenger. Fun car, but I also like older cars too. So if I had to pick an old car, I would go with an old, maybe like 68, 69 Corvette Stingray.
Cool.
All right, so Dr. Bob, what is your most interesting adjustment story?
Okay, well, I have funny ones, I have interesting ones, I have inspirational ones. One funny one I would say is I had a lady come in a few years back. She was in late 30s, maybe like 40, and came in with really bad lower back pain. So start working on lower back. Back pain gets better. Well, when you're getting adjusted, we're getting pressure off of nerves, and those nerves go somewhere and they connect and they control something. So as you're getting adjusted, that part of your body is going to work a little more efficiently. Lower back nerves are going to control digestive system and reproductive organs. So in her case, start working on her, back gets better, and she ends up getting pregnant. So she comes back to us a couple weeks later and she's like, so I ended up getting pregnant. I know it was from this because I'm like 40 years old. In my 20s, my husband and I were trying to have kids, and it just never really worked out for us. We tried IVF, we tried all these things, just kind of accepted the fact we're never going to be able to have kids. You fast forward like 10 years later, she comes in our office, and it's like, surprise, you're now pregnant. And but it's a funny story because when she came in, she had this very expressive personality. She never met a stranger. She knew everyone. She talked to everyone. Yep. So she'd be in our office and sitting next to someone and asking them like, "Why are you here? What is he treating you for?" And they'd be like neck pain or headaches or whatever it is, and she'd be like, "Well, I'm here because my back was hurting, and he also got me pregnant while I was here too." So I'm like, "Don't say that. Let's word this a little differently. Say it a little differently." So that's a funny one. I would say an interesting one, or maybe a little more inspirational. I would say would be that I put this on Facebook once. I told this story, but I had a little girl that came in our office. When I was almost straight into my practice, like 13 years ago, and I was working for a chiropractor, and he was really into pediatric care, and I wasn't. I just was not very good with kids. If you have kids, or maybe you're the person that was like me, I just wasn't very good with them. I didn't know how to talk to them. I couldn't communicate with them. So they come into my office, and I'm like asking them like, "How's the weather out there? Like, who's your favorite sport team?" And they're like 3 years old, and they're just looking at me. "Hey, are you watching Saturday morning cartoons?" And parents would be like, "Yeah, those haven't been on in like 30 years. I'm like, "Oh, sorry, I just didn't know how to talk to them." Right? It was just very awkward, no rapport. So I just didn't like to see kids because I just didn't know how to communicate with them. Well, one day a little girl came in. She's like 8-9 months old, and the baby's having seizures basically from the day she was born. She would have 12, 13 seizures a day. So a lot of specialists got on a lot of different medications. I think they got them down to about 7 or 8 seizures a day. And she was referred to us by someone that's like, "You should try chiropractic care." So I do an exam, adjusted the baby, told the mom, "Come back in a couple days, we'll see where things are." Up until this point, I hadn't seen a lot of children. I mean, I was pretty good at, treating back pain, headaches, the adult type of conditions. Right. So in my mind, I'm thinking, hopefully this will work, but I wasn't very optimistic, although mom was very optimistic. She's like, "I think this is gonna help." And sure enough, she comes back a couple days later, and the 8 seizures a day were pretty much gone. And they never came back after that either.
So awesome.
Yeah, and it just, they went away, they stayed away, she got off all of her medications. Very life-changing situation for this little girl, because of what that would have looked like growing up, having these seizures. You're very limited on what you can do in your life. So that kind of steered me into the pediatric type of practice, family-based practice, because I feel like I have a pretty big impact on a lot of conditions that are not helped anywhere else.
Yeah. All right, so there's a lot of myths about various healthcare professions, and chiropractic is obviously no different. What is one myth about chiropractic care that is not true?
Yeah, so the most common one that you hear is once you go to a chiropractor once, you have to go for the rest of your life. And, at least in my office, I have a starting point and an end point for everyone that comes in. And so when I see a patient on the first visit, I can tell them, this is how much I can help, this is the time frame that you need, and this is as far as we can get you. Hopefully that's pretty far. But I do have a lot of patients that come in beyond that for what we call maintenance care, or we call wellness care. And I recommend this for every single person that comes into my office once they finish a treatment plan because of the benefits of it. But what that looks like is that these patients aren't coming in for symptoms, they're using it as a form of wellness or prevention. And it's because the nervous system controls every single part of the body. These patients want to make sure that this is working and functioning as well as possible. So if you wait for symptoms to show up, typically you're going to be too late. So they're not getting adjusted as soon as they feel pain. They're actually trying to prevent that from coming on to begin with. So it's not early detection, it's actually what I call true prevention. All right, so I get adjusted once a week. I know you get adjusted once a week. I adjust my wife, my 2 boys once a week. My 2 boys have been adjusted weekly since the day they were born, a couple hours old, and they had their first adjustments. And they've maintained it ever since then, but it's because we want to make sure that their nervous system is functioning and control everything perfectly. And like I said, it's all about prevention, because we want to make sure that your nervous system's functioning as well as it can at all times, because it's responsible for the health of your body. And there's multiple studies that have shown this too. Like there was a landmark study a few years ago where they had two groups that were 65 and older. The one group goes to a chiropractor for wellness care for 5 years, once a week, once every other week. The other group didn't do anything. 5 years later, they come back and they look at both groups, and there were dramatic differences between the group that saw the chiropractor and the group that didn't. The biggest ones were the amount of money that they spent, the group that got adjusted, the amount of money that they spent compared to the group that didn't get adjusted. And I think it was like 80% less on doctor's visits, hospital visits. I think this group that was seeing the chiropractor they were taking like 2 or 3 medications. The other group was taking like 13 or 14 medications. And when I started looking into the numbers for this in terms of looking at health as an investment, I mean, I think the group that was seeing the chiropractor was on pace to save like $500,000 in medical bills between the age of 65 and 85. So, I mean, the results were dramatically different from this group to this group. Like I said, we see this in our office all the time. The longer somebody's with me, the better their health looks. But a couple of quick stories about patients that I've had that have been getting adjusted on a weekly basis for years. I mean, I almost feel like at that point, I almost feel like I could offer like a money-back guarantee if you came to my office once a week for like 5 years. Because I've never seen anybody do that and not see their health improve dramatically. So like we have families that I've adjusted once a week for 5 years, 7 years, and we'll see ones that they come in and their children are the sickest of the sick. I mean, they have multiple tube surgeries for ear infections. They have food allergies. They couldn't eat anything. Very sick eczema. All these different autoimmune problems, and going through once a week, maintaining their nervous system, they're completely different. All these symptoms are gone. They've maintained it, and they've gone from the sickest children to the healthiest children, in their school. I have a lady that comes into our office that just turned 60 a couple weeks ago, and she's telling me at 60, she's healthier than she was at 20 or 30. She's been coming into our office, once a week, once every other week for 5, 6, 7 years.
Absolutely. Think of it as an investment. You are making lifestyle changes here. You invest now so that you don't have to pay later. I've been a part of our office, like I said earlier, over a year now, and I've been able to witness these cases firsthand. So many families have come into our office with very sick children, and in a short period of time, their lives completely changed for the better. Dr. Bob's kids are some of the healthiest kids I've personally ever known. They never get sick, and I'd say the same is true for even the families that have been doing wellness and maintenance adjustments in our office for years, long before I ever even worked here. Those families have some of the best health I've ever seen. It's definitely a privilege to be a part of this office and a part of the wellness lifestyle and movement, and see the impact that chiropractic care has on our community.
Okay, and the last thing I will say is, I do know whenever I explain how the nervous system works and the role that chiropractic can have on someone's health, whether I'm out speaking to a group or in my office, afterwards I always have a couple of people that come up and ask me, my husband has this problem, my friend, my neighbor has this issue, can you help with this? And because chiropractic allows the body to function on its own more efficiently, there's this wide range of symptoms that we can help with. So whenever someone comes up and asks me, can you help with X, Y, or Z, my answer is always, it depends. And it depends on the exam that I do that lets me know how much I can actually help them. So if you are someone that's watching this and you're thinking of someone else, give that person one of these certificates. We put these in your new patient packet. And when that person comes into our office, their initial consult, examination, diagnostic testing, anything they would need is complimentary. At that point, we can let someone know if we can help them, how much we can help them, and then let them decide if we're a good fit for them. Hopefully you got some great information from this video, and hopefully it answered some of your questions that you may have had as well. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any further questions or concerns on your mind. We are always here to help you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. We look forward to seeing you in the office soon.